Okay, so actually what I wanted to start with was seated. That was my first instinct this morning. So sitting comfortably, I'm going to sit in Virasana because I think it's good to change. And in Virasana, you can sit as high as you need to sit, right? It can be quite high, right? If your knees are agitated, right? See if you can find the position that actually works. Right. We tend to repeat things that feel good. Which there's something to be said for that, but it's also good to find comfort or not, or variations that allow us to move into different variations that allow us to find different shapes. Okay. I'm going to kick you out. Yes. So simple. So the little focus on the breath and a little bit of movement. So a spinal flexion, I am including the pelvis, so a little posterior tilt, letting the back spread, letting the head drop. And then, again, you can initiate anywhere on the line. Sitting bones start to move back, tailbone back, ribs forward, eyes up. And so making it as slow and as small as you need to, but let your breath, let the inhale move you into one shape. It's obviously easier when the chest is open and the head is lifted to take the inhale. And as the ribs move back and the belly moves back, to exhale. And do what you can. If your mind is quite busy, slow down as much as you can. Again, from the breath, inhale, slow, slow, slow. Exhale, slow, slow, slow. Finding a rhythm. A little pressing of the breath out at the end of the exhale. It doesn't have to be a lot of effort. Just allowing the inhale to be a little more full. And a couple more. Last one, inhaling slow, 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 slow. Exhale, slow, 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 slow. And coming back to center. Good, and let's take the arms out and up, nice and slow, inhaling. Good, and as I exhale, I'm almost going to direct my hands around the body. Almost sending the breath down and through the body. And however you want to imagine it, right? Gathering sunlight, oxygen, and letting it almost move down and in and through the body. wind, that beautiful light of spring or fresh snow. And just keep, again, slow, slow, slow. The breath will be different as the arms come up, but letting the breath move down. And you can even imagine it down, brain, spinal cord, skeletal nerves out into the whole body, arms, legs, ribs, organs. Good, and again, just 3 more. You can even imagine it as water. Right? And maybe it is a sense of releasing what isn't needed, what isn't yours to carry, what feels complete. And not really pushing things away, but allowing what is ready to leave to leave. Cleansing, a clearing, a releasing. Hands on thighs for a moment. And one more breath, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. And maybe giving the breath a little sound, letting the breath scrape across the back of the throat. If that creates too much pressure in the head, then see what you can do to soften, to expand around the breath. Keeping that rhythm. Inhale through nose, exhale through mouth. Inhaling through nose, exhale through the mouth. Nice and easy, diffuse, light. As you inhale, noticing that the tissue under the rib cage, the periphery, that circumference around the body, letting that tissue expand on the inhale, as well as the belly, lower back. That slight shift in the breath, inhaling through the mouth, exhaling through the mouth. And again, as diffuse as it needs to be. What does that mean? Slow, not a lot of pull or push. It's almost a softening of the body around the breath, around that force, right? The force of the breath, that life force energy. Right? Widening the back of the head and the neck and the throat as the breath comes in. And the breath moves out. And that same sense of releasing and inviting, right? It's not pulling in, there's a little less grasp, more of an invitation. And a release. And maybe even just a sense of breathing in light and breathing out light. Breathing in ease. And breathing out ease. Breathing in grace. And breathing out grace. Even things like breathing in trust. And breathing out trust. Two more breaths. And filling in anything that you need support with. Or nourishment around. Maybe even just breathing in love. Grounding, forgiveness. Forgiveness of, it's such a tricky word, but forgiveness of hard to say it, of the grasping of ourselves, right? Allowing us to be messy, to be open, to be vulnerable. And then one more breath. Nice, long, slow inhale, a little pause at the top of the inhale. Just softening around that fullness. And again, just sitting in, softening around, settling into that fullness. And slow exhale. And at the bottom of the exhale, a much shorter pause. Inhale. And exhale. One more pause. Bottom of the exhale. In that space of emptiness, of release. Softening. And inhale. Slowly opening your eyes. Let's just take one arm up to the ceiling. I'm just going to bend the arm, bring the arm behind the head. Just pause there, maybe look up just a little. And look down just a little. And release that arm up and out to the side. Other arm out and up. And behind the head. And again, looking up, whatever that means to you. And looking down. And arm up and out. Good, let's take the other arm, and I'm just going to turn the palm towards the back of the room, and I'm just going to slide that arm behind the back, maybe even up the back a little. Again, maybe looking up a little. And looking down a little. And release, other side. Again, turning the palm towards the back of the room, arm either lower back, maybe the hand moves up towards the shoulder, Looking up just a little. And looking down. Good, and release. So first arm, right? One arm goes up, one arm goes down. So top arm palm is forward, bottom arm palm is facing back. So I'm not interested in the hands touching. I'm more interested in hands on body, hands wide. Maybe even a little kind of reach of the elbows away from each other. And then towards each other a little. And then again, looking up. And looking down. And center and release, and other side. Again, the top arm, palm forward, bottom arm, palm back. And making contact with the body, spreading the hand into the body. And looking up. And looking down. And center. I'm just going to tip one hand to the floor, other arm up and over. And coming up. Noticing your breath, opposite side. Notice when you want to hold the breath out. Notice when you want to hold in, when you want to emphasize or punctuate. See if you can keep the breath flowing. First side again. I'm walking that hand a little further out. You can even bend the arm a little if that feels good. And up. And second side, nice and slow. Good, one more time. Again, you can go further out. You can bend that bottom arm. Noticing your breath. Noticing when you want to hold, when it pauses. Okay. All right. Hands and knees. Palms under shoulders, knees under hips. And I'm just going to let the ribs lift and the head drop. Coming back to this flexion, this hat shape. And then cow shape, sitting bones lift, ribs sink towards the floor, head lifts. And rounding. And extending. Good, one more. Again, noticing your breath. Pull your breath in. Don't let the mind do all the leading. Good, and next time I flex, slight different, I'm gonna just look under one arm, looking to the side of the room. And then let's come back through extension. And then other side, looking under that arm. And then extension. Good, let's round one more time. This time I'm just gonna slowly, so my ribs are lifted, but I'm just gonna slowly, you can widen the knees a little. Take the hips back towards the feet. If your hips don't go all the way back, you can grab one of your blocks and put it on your heels. Or you can hover. Well, block. Block is probably better. Right, so we can do a little side child's pose. Right, hips seated either on the block or on your heels, hands walk to one side. And center. And other side. Again, just getting in the little side ribs, let the breath meet that side of the body.
Keeping the throat wide and soft, receptive to the breath. Center, first side again. Hips away from hands. Just breathing into the sticky and thick places, even noticing the difference between the two sides. The hip to the waist to the shoulders. And center. And then let's come up. And let's come up to sit, and we're just going to shift around onto our backs. I know I'm going to use the block. I'm not sure about the strap yet, but let's come onto our backs. Depends on what you have. Doesn't matter what you have. You don't need any of it. You can always improvise a little. Okay. Good. Let's just open up the knees for a moment since we have been with bent knees. Take one leg and roll it in and out. Thigh, knee, foot rolling in, rolling out. Good. Feel the ground under you, the floor, the earth beneath the floor or floors. Good. And let that leg settle. And then other leg, just roll in and out. Good. Heavy, even though it's rolling, let it be heavy. Heavy foot and calf and thigh and hip. And then let that whole hip, leg, foot settle both sides. Good. And let's bring block. Again, if you don't have block, you can just use your legs, but I'm going to take the block behind let's do right leg. Holding the block with my hands, maybe even fingers. And I'm just going to play for a moment, bending the knee, letting the calf just hug against either buttocks or heel to buttocks or calf to block. And then extend. And as I extend, I'm thinking more about pressing into either the block or the hands. And then bend, a little squeeze in the bend. And then slowly straighten. Pressing into the hand or block. Right, so bend and a little squeeze in the bend. And straighten. And squeeze. And straighten. Good. Let the arms lengthen, right? So the shoulders come away from the ears as that leg presses into hands or block. Good. One more like this. Bend and straighten, and then pause here. And I'm still focused on what the thigh is doing, but I am going to play a little bit with point and flex in the foot. Flex and point. Flex and point. Flex. Good. And then let's come up and turn the foot to the side. So I'm turning the sole of the foot to one side and then the other side. And then first side and second side. One more. And then I'm just going to keep flexing, reach up through the heel, thigh into the hands or block. And then I'm going to release my hands, my block, but I'm going to keep pressing the thigh away from my head and up through the heel. Good. Again, notice your breath. Notice how much effort you're doing. Can you do less effort and keep doing it? Can you deepen the breath and keep doing it? One more breath here. And then slowly lower that leg down, watching the waist and the back of the pelvis, letting the ribs be heavy, the waist be heavy, the hips heavy. So you slowly lower down, hover just a little bit off the floor. Good, leg all the way down. Extend both legs. One breath. And other side, bending knees. Let's take the block behind the other leg, left leg. And again, we're just going to play with this little squeeze and extend. Squeeze and extend. And maybe even just noticing the quality of the tissue or what else feels bound up, whether it's the lower back or just the jaw get grippy or the front hip, back of knee, top of knee. And how can you smooth it out? And it's almost like trying to understand or refine the initiation, or how your muscles are engaging, what's working too hard. Can you back up a little? Notice when you're holding your breath. Notice when your inhale is shallow. And maybe even slowing it down so you feel the quality of both ends. Squeeze and straighten, nice and easy. One more, squeeze and straighten. And then a little at the top, keep pressing the block into hands or thigh into block or hands, and a little point and flex. Right, and that flex can be quite strong depending on your tissue. Maybe even get the toes involved. Good, and then let's shift to turning to one side of the room and the other side of the room at the ankle. And turning out and turning in, and even just noticing the tone, the ease. It's totally different on this side. Maybe even one circle. We didn't do that on the other side, and then circle in the other direction. And then keeping that flex, keep that press into the block and just take the block away, hands away. And again, just keep looking to refine it. Hips heavy, thigh heavy towards the pelvis, back heavy, right? So less force, but more refinement. Maybe even point here and flex and point. Notice shoulders, back of neck, breath, jaw. Right hip heavy, left hip heavy. Good, and then let's slowly, slowly lower, just an inch above the ground. Good, and then lower all the way down, extend the other leg, notice. And let's bend both knees. So I'm going to take my right leg and I'm going to put the block right in front of my sitting bone. So it could be the longest way or the middle way. And I'm just going to bring my heel back to the block and squeeze the heel into the buttocks. And again, if you don't have a block, you can just squeeze the leg, the calf into the hamstring. Good. And again, find a nice clear squeeze. It isn't too much work, just feels clear and consistent, steady, anchoring, feels good in the joints. Feels good in the back. Good, and then let's do little circles with the knee. So side away from the face, other side towards the face. Again, still a consistent squeeze. Slow and smooth, listening for the breath, listening for effort. And it's not that there's no effort, just notice when something's overworking. And it can mean there's just a weakness in one area. Good information, maybe go slower. And then let's change direction. Side, away, side, towards. It doesn't matter where you are in the circle. Noticing the side that's moving, the side that isn't moving, the hips, the breath. Breath is probably the most important part. And coming back to a center point. Let's grab the block behind the thigh, or hands, extend that leg. Good, and again, release the block, and I'm gonna turn the toes, knee, thigh out to the side, externally rotate, internally rotate. So I'm gonna try to not move the pelvis and turn the leg in and out. And then maybe let the pelvis turn in and out. Good. And then bend that leg. Let's extend both legs, pause. Maybe even just a little tail wag. Should kind of wiggle out the spine and the head and neck just a tiny bit. And then let's bend the knees and do the other leg. So again, block against the sitting bone, short way, long way, or no block. Just bend the leg, squeeze, find a nice, consistent, steady squeeze. This leg feels totally different. And then let's do our circle. Side, away, side. Towards can be quite small. Right, and things to look for really like tightness in the jaw and throat, holding the breath. Right, areas that feel weak, just move slower, maybe make it smaller. And breath, most important part. Shoulders heavy. Ribs heavy. Good, changing direction. Side towards side, away. It doesn't have to be a smooth circle. It could be more of a potato or a box or a, and if you get clicking or grabbing or pulling, always change the shape to make it smooth. Guess I didn't say that before, but I feel like, I guess there's so much messaging, right? if there's pain, that's okay, and you got to work through it. But it's really, can you wire into the nervous system, no pain, so it feels comfortable with the movement. So to allow you to go further. Good. And then coming back to center. Grab the leg, straighten the leg, pressing leg either into block or to hands. Good. And then taking the block out, and again, I'm going to, right, so if you're working really hard to keep the leg up, you can still interlace or have hands on legs. You can assist turning the leg in and out if it's not so easy. If there's density or thickness. Maybe a couple, letting the pelvis move. A little lateral movement of the pelvis, maybe even of the ribs. And center, bend, extend both legs. Good, and let's bend both knees, take feet together, knees apart, Baddha Konasana. Again, you can always stick your blocks under your outer legs if there's a pull that's not allowing you to breathe or settle, or the tissue to soften. One or two more breaths, depending on the length of your breath. Slow it down. And either using hands or just the legs, bring the knees together. Let's take the feet wide and let the knees drop together. So I am going to grab my band. It could be a rope or a tie. Again, or your hand. You can hold your legs. And then coming onto your back. Oh, they changed my mind. So 1 foot up on the strap. So it's my right foot, but right hand on this. Well, let's take one hand on each band or one hand on each side of the leg. I'm going to take that leg out to the side, using the other leg as a counterbalance. So that I can keep the leg off the floor, letting the inner thigh have some, and a little more stretch. And then letting that leg tip towards the floor. So straight leg towards the floor, pelvis is going to tip towards that straight leg. And I'm going to let the bent leg also tip towards the floor. Just getting a little of that knee, just getting a little front hip, front thigh on the bent leg. And then bent leg, knee up, letting that help tip the pelvis onto its backside, lifting the straight leg up, and then letting that straight leg come across the body. Bent leg can help slow that down. Again, you can switch hands with your strap. So now the shoulder that leg is turning away from, right? The leg's now across the body. Let the breath help settle that shoulder, that upper arm, the ribs, the hips. And then slowly, slowly, straight leg back to center. Good. Nice and easy. One more time. We're just going to go side. Take your time. Bend knee lowers. Slowly up. And other side. Breath easy, weight heavy. Just keep softening back into the floor. Listening to your breath. Almost that same feeling we had in the beginning of letting the breath move through the body. Nice and easy, but like opening the windows and the doors, letting the body, again, release whatever isn't needed, whatever can soften. Slowly back to center. Straight leg foot on the floor. Again, just stretch the legs out. Let the weight of the body settle. Just keep reinforcing that support of the floor and the weight releasing into the floor. Bending knees, other foot up on the band or strap. So in the hands, holding the ankles or the calves. And letting your breath soften the back, soften the tissue, flesh. Soften density or sensitivity. Good. Straight leg out to the side. Again, always adapt, leg be bent. Again, I'm letting the bent leg work as a counterweight just to let that straight leg, inner thigh, have a little exposure. Again, just softening. And then let's tip that leg towards the floor, letting the bent knee also tip towards the floor, same side. So you get a front thigh, front hip, top thigh, knee. And then bent leg coming up, tipping the pelvis onto its back, and then letting that straight leg come across. Again, same shoulder as the straight leg on the floor, so you get that rotation. Again, leg can be bent, adapt to meet your body needs. Using your breath to soften. To settle even more. Straight leg up. Bent leg follows. One more time out to the side. Again, bent knee slowly following towards the floor, front thigh, top of knee, front hip. And center with the bent knee, center with the bent knee, draw the straight leg up and then across and let it slowly come across. Again, you can bend the knees, straight leg is it's a lot of ask. And then straight leg slowly up. Bending that leg. One more time, let's take feet together, knees apart. Lips soft, cheeks soft, face soft. Good. And knees up to center. Pause, let hands come to the belly. Let your breath find your belly. Let your breath find the back of the pelvis. Again, that inhale, nice and slow, slow, slow on the inhale. And slow on the exhale. And let's go back to inhale through the nose. And exhale through the mouth. Maybe again, there's a little more release on the exhale. And as you release on the exhale, let that soften the body to invite a different inhale, a softer, still a full breath. And then that release, long release through the exhale. The throat and chest receptive, back receptive, hips receptive. Maybe even going back to where we started, just a sense of inhaling light. Exhaling light. Letting it move through us. So even the challenge, even the resistance has room to move, to shift, to release, to soften. Right, inviting in, right, whatever you may need in this moment. Care, trust, support. Extend the legs, just a couple more breaths. Fully. Feeling held by whatever it is that you feel held by, nature, spirit, angels, whatever word, it's more important the feeling. Even if it's friendship, animals. Fingers and toes, still in this intention, I guess, or the space of receiving and releasing. Little movement in hands and feet and arms and legs. Gently roll to your side and come to sit. One hand on heart, one hand on belly. Just offering yourself a gentle acknowledgement, love, hug. I see you. And let's finish with one Om. Om.